Yamashita treasure maps. If you have been treasure hunting for the hidden Yamashita treasures for some time, then you might have encountered someone who owns a Yamashita treasure map. However, the most common problem about the Yamashita treasure map is not actually the part of interpreting the signs or symbols on the map. The problem is more about locating the exact place being referred on the treasure map. I have one fellow treasure hunter who is a half Filipino and Japanese. He is from Laguna, and he acquired his Yamashita treasure map through his grandfather, who was a high-ranking Japanese Imperial Army general. Unfortunately, his grandfather is now deceased, where he failed to disclose details about the location of the hidden treasure on his treasure map. The reason was that his family often ignored him when he talked about his hidden treasure. It was already too late when one of his grandchildren had the interest of recovering the hidden treasure for himself. When I studied his treasure map, it really took me a lot of time to figure out the location of the place that is being referred. This is what made us realize that the Japanese Imperial Army had used the old name of the place, which was replaced to a new name. Since we knew the place, we had to find the markers, as indicated on the treasure map. These markers consist of large rocks, old trees, old creek, and etc. The issue that we encountered with the markers was that some of these markers no longer exist. Thus, we had to ask help from the locals. So, if it happens that some strangers are asking locations of old trees, rocks, creeks or any other old objects, then they can be treasure hunters who are trying to confirm if that's the right place, as indicated on their treasure maps. Upon knowing all the locations of the markers, as confirmed on the treasure map, finding the buried or hidden spot of the treasure deposit was now an easy task. How can someone acquire a Yamashita treasure map? Aside from being handed down, some individuals acquired their treasure maps when they accidentally discovered them hidden on old trees, rocks, and old houses. You may not believe this, that the Japanese Imperial soldiers who managed to survive the Second World War were not the only ones who are in possession of Yamashita treasure maps. It's because some of the Yamashita treasure maps were confiscated by the Allied forces. This is the reason why it's not only the Japanese who has the interest about the hidden Yamashita treasures, but also the Americans. But why are there other nationalities who are not Japanese or Americans, that also possess Yamashita treasure maps. There are actually British, Germans, Canadians, and other nationalities that possess their own Yamashita treasure maps. The reason why it ended into their hands is that the treasure maps were either sold or passed down to various different individuals. As for the Koreans, you have to know that Korea got invaded by the Japanese Imperial Army, where many of the Koreans end up serving them as a part of their army. Thus, when the Japanese Imperial Army had invaded the Philippines, their army was composed of Japanese and Korean soldiers. Since the Korean soldiers represent the Japanese Imperial Army, they were considered as Japanese, where there was no any reason to distinguish them apart. Thus, just like the Japanese, Koreans also have Yamashita treasure maps on their hands. Despite the availability of the Yamashita treasure maps, many of these treasure maps just happens to be fake. Such fake treasure maps are made by scammers to trick amateur treasure hunters to buy them for a certain expensive price. Anyway, if you have any questions with regards to this topic, then feel free to ask them on the comment form below. Moreover, have you enjoyed watching this video? If your answer is yes, and you are new to my channel, then you may want to subscribe and hit the like button. You are also free to share to your friends, or to someone who may find it helpful. If you prefer a reading material about treasure hunting, then I recommend visiting my blogging website at treasurehunt.club. Thank you very much for watching, and happy treasure hunting!